So the purpose of this panel is to show you how the University of Winnipeg is managing and offering resources to teach remotely. So on this panel, we have Rusty Jimenez, who's the director of the Center for Academic Technology. The Center for Academic Technology, and Rusty may talk about this more, is what is the office, the folks who are helping University of Winnipeg faculty to teach online, and we consider them to be rock stars right now because they have been working day and night on helping us. Tabitha Wood, associate professor, we've seen her before, and the associate dean of the Faculty of Science, and Jane Lothian, an instructor, an award-winning instructor from the Department of Criminal Justice. So let's go through everyone in the panel, and then if there are questions, we'll wait until the end of the panel to answer those questions. So take it away, Rusty.
Tabitha will go first.
Tabitha will go first. Okay.
Is that okay, Jane? Do you mind if I go first? Okay.
Great.
So Jane has given us some instructions in the chat for her part of the presentation. So I don't mind if you go do that while I'm talking. So I asked to go first because, well, first of all, I guess what I'd like to do is, welcome you all to the University of Winnipeg, and congratulations for being chosen and being given this interesting opportunity to try the fall 2020 experiment with all of us. So I would like to go first because I thought maybe what I would do is I would help to explain a little bit about how the university came to the decision to do remote teaching this fall. So hopefully I'm sharing my PowerPoint presentation with you.
Yep.
I'm showing you the last slide of my presentation with you. There you go. Okay. So in my earlier presentation for the regular academic staff, I pointed people towards some resources. I'm a bit document oriented, and so here's another document that you might like to look at. This is the University of Winnipeg's pandemic plan. So if you're curious about what's supposed to be going on and what is going on at the university, there is a plan. And of course, never having really had to use the pandemic plan before, I think we're also discovering as we go along that we've had to do a lot of improvisation, but luckily we have a lot of really smart people up in the senior administration who are making some really good decisions. So it's a bit of background to how we have come to the fall semester being largely remote delivery. I'll let you know that in March 13th of 2020 was when the University of Winnipeg made the decision to suspend all-person classes and labs for the remainder of the winter term. So we were 3 weeks away from the end of the winter semester at that time. And this was the common response from a lot of universities and a lot of other organizations in response to the COVID-19 pandemic. So shortly thereafter, we also decided to close all buildings on campus. So this meant that anything that could be done remotely should be done remotely, and this included teaching as well. So that meant that the spring semester that was about to start in May, the nearly 300 courses that were being taught were all offered remotely. And so we owe a lot of the experience and decisions that we feel confident about now moving into the fall semester to those brave heroes and everyone who had been doing remote teaching for a long time, but also the spring semester instructors whose invaluable experience this spring has helped us make some of the decisions that we have. So this fall, the vast majority of teaching will be done remotely. There are a few courses, theater and kinesiology, who according to their accreditation requirements or just the very practical hands-on nature of their work have been given special permission to teach on campus. So there are some people on campus, but a very, very small number. The winter semester remains to be undetermined as of yet, but that decision, I think the university wants to make the decision very soon because a lot of the fall students are also winter semester students. So that decision should be coming pretty soon. So as you are aware, different universities across Canada and around the world have been responding differently to what to do with the fall semester in relation to the COVID-19 pandemic. And so some of the things that were taken into consideration in our decision to move to remote teaching largely had to do with safety. So our major concern is safety, student safety, instructor safety, as well as staff safety. So everybody who's going to be on the campus, our safety all relates to each other. So this is how the decision was made. So in terms of how we can decide whether or not what we're doing is safe, has to do with provincial public health guidelines. So I know some of you aren't in Manitoba yet. I encourage you, if you haven't already, to look at the Manitoba Public Health Guidelines. They're fairly similar across Canada and North America and around the world about our health guidelines. So you can read more about those. Other things we took into consideration were also students' and parents' opinions, right? So if we're asking students to come back on campus, is this something that we can mutually agree upon, that is something that they want to do? And we felt, based on some surveys that had been done of Canadian students, that it wasn't something that we could all mutually agree upon, that coming back onto campus was going to be a safe decision. As well, so this relates also to the winter semester, the decision that has yet to be made. If we consider what kind of projections, it's a lot of trying to decide what's going to happen in the future and not really knowing unprecedented times of what is going to happen. And so trying to use some epidemiological pandemic projections as well into how we would like to proceed. So as part of the pandemic response plan, an academic COVID-19 response planning team was created. So I've got the members of the team there at the bottom. Each of the different faculties was represented by a different member. So from education, kinesiology, business, and economics, arts, and science. I was the representative from science. I was also the chair of the committee. What our mandate was to provide assistance to the senior leadership. So we're acting like a go-between to help identify, number one, what kinds of supports already existed, because the university already had lots of really great existing supports for teaching and for remote teaching specifically, but also identifying what gaps we might have had in feeling comfortable about doing this remote teaching research and service as well. So service doesn't tend to be as much of a challenge. Research for some people is a huge challenge. And some people not so much in a remote environment. I'm an experimental chemist, so it was really challenging to do research, as in none of my normal research got done this summer. And teaching is one of those things. So like I said, we already had some existing resources, and now we're trying to put them all in one place. So that place is the Remote Teaching, Learning, and Research Hub. It's a website in the University of Winnipeg, so I highly encourage you to explore it. There's a lot of things to explore in there. And so this particular panel is about teaching, so here from the teaching perspective, I encourage you to look at some of the resources that are available in there. We continue to add resources to it as well, so if there is something that you would like to see in there, if you have questions, we can make those additions. So there's a website you can contact, or there's an email address, sorry, that you can contact us through on the Remote Teaching, Learning, Research Hub website. But also the academic COVID-19 response planning team can be contacted for any other types of questions or concerns as well. And we encourage people to go through their chairs. So there was a communication that came out yesterday from the university, which was awesome, but and encouraged people to talk to the response planning team, but it didn't say how to contact the response planning team. So we encourage you to contact us through your chairs, but if you feel resourceful and want to contact us directly, that's fine too. So that's my contribution to the panel.
Great, thank you very much, Tabitha. By the way, to the members who are new to the Zoom call, who just came in like 10, 15 minutes ago, it is being recorded. and it will be posted to make this available, to make this discussion and these resources available to others. So if you have a problem, if you prefer having your video off, just please do so, but just let me know. So is it Jane or Resty next?
I can, Jane.
Yeah, Resty?
Okay,
Okay.
I'll do the presentation. Okay. Just share my screen. Now, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. So I would like to make this simple as possible so that you will have one point of focus. The Center for Academic Technology, which I'm representing right now, is part of the overall technology sector. The technology sector itself, we have two departments there, the Center for Academic Technology and TSC, which is the Technology Solutions Center. Now, for the technology sector, CAT provides the following services. So we are responsible for supporting our LMS. Our LMS is based using Brightspace from D2L. And we are also supporting our studios. We have the Media Services Department. We have the Technology Solutions, Technical Support Services, and then Desktop. Under this group, we are providing the support for all of this. So we are supporting Nexus, the studios, video, meaning you can, we're doing coverage, for example, for scientific labs for chemistry. So we're taking some videos there. We're helping out with equipment. We're supporting smart classrooms, the desktops and laptops. So if you need to order, we will install it, we will configure it. So it goes through our team. Smartphones, we also support that. Scientific equipment, Zoom, audio, video, podiums, remote applications. So these are new, this is new. We are in the process of finishing up the testing for remote access for students to applications, computer applications, of course, and remote access to computer labs. We're also responsible for on-campus digital signage and software licenses. So that's a big, part of what we're doing. Technology Solutions Center, we have two parts there. The business solutions portion, which takes care of our student information system. And then there's the technology infrastructure, which takes care of the network, servers, wireless, VPN, virtual private network, IT security, student information systems, network accounts, email, Nextcloud, network storage, and service desk. So this is the whole full service. Unlike other universities, they have, for each department, they have their own IT. We're supporting the whole campus for their IT support needs. So what I'm going to show you, so the main item here is this website. So this is the website that goes directly to the tech sector website. We have some links here that is connected to the hub, which I was part of. So we're collating all the information from different areas, and we have included a lot of the topics here, including Zoom or applications in the hub. So made it easy so that, one place to look at. But in the tech sector, there are some items there that you might need. And we're still working on the hub, so we will add additional information on the Remote Teaching Hub, but I will show you some of the things that will really help you in working with our online presence right now. So I will stop sharing this one. I will share another document. And this is, okay. So in the tech sector, the reason why I'm focusing on this tech sector is if you forgot, oh, I need something, and it's, you know, it's something that's obscure or something that I really need. It can be information security. If you look here, this is the main tech sector website. At the bottom here, you have this frequently asked questions. And if you click on this one, there is a group of how do I, for students. So if you have a student, oh, I have a problem with my web advisor. How do I reset my web advisor password, for example? I need help printing or log into Nexus. So the details are here. But for people who will need support for, let's say, hardware, we have this, for example, computer supported by the Technology Solution Center. We would like you to use these services and to take a look at this information, because a lot of times there are things that are overlooked. And for example, I'll give you one example on computers. So I need a laptop, and you can get the laptop and go to Best Buy and get it. The problem is now I have applications that I need, and sometimes I need support for my laptop. And we simply cannot provide support for the laptop if it did not go through the Technology Solution Center. Because, for example, for the laptops, we connect it to our Active Directory, so your accounts, and we provide security for it. And the laptop is configured with solutions that will make it secure. We're working in an online environment right now, and we have to be very careful about what we use to provide the service online. So the information is here, and the reason why I'm focusing on this is there are a lot of information that a lot of people really didn't know. And there is this remote access solutions. So technology products and services to assist with remote teaching and working off campus. So in the hub, the information that we have collated and created connections for are the ones that are focusing mostly on LMS, on Zoom. So those are the tools that you use for teaching. But there are some products out there that is more on the technical side, and these are things that will help you as well with regards to, you know, working remotely. And one of the best examples is virtual private network. And I'm not sure if everyone knows about this particular solution. When we went and we were remote and we are working from home and teaching from home, one of the things that you got used to is you have resources back on campus. Now, how are you going to access those resources securely? And this is one of the solutions that we are providing as a service for all those supported desktops and laptops that the university actually have been supporting for years. And virtual private network will help you with that. This this will give you access to resources on campus securely. So that is one of those services that we have. Linked to the hub as well is the information about Zoom. So Zoom, as an example, before March 11th, we have 20 Zoom licenses on campus, 20. As of yesterday, we purchased additional 100 additional licenses. We are now at 1,050 licenses. So from 20 on March 11th, we now have 1,050. Over those few months, we have supported 25,336 meetings for the University of Winnipeg with 212,000 participants and using 13.5 million minutes. So that's the statistic. We have a group of people that is available to support you with Zoom. And the details are all in the hub. So we have the remote teaching at uwinnipeg.ca. Those details are in the hub. So you don't forget, go to the hub and you will get information about who to contact if you have a problem. One of the things that, you know, it's a byproduct of what, when we produce websites, sometimes people forget, oh, okay, we have a service desk, we have remote teaching if I need support for Zoom. So we have a contact list in the hub, remote sources for the hub. And most of the time, I will get the call, but then I will forward it to remote teaching. I would suggest that you actually read through what is in there because we have included all the remote, support contacts. And, you know, that is the most efficient. You know, if you contact remote teaching at uwinnipeg.ca, there's someone out there who will reply to you. So just additional information about the hub. We are here to support everyone, faculty, and on the business side as well. Our team are actually working overtime. So my team is composed of a group of people supporting LMS, so Nexus. Our Nexus support is working overtime. We have only 3 people in Nexus who are supporting us. We cannot find additional people because Nexus is quite, you know, it's a big product. You cannot easily find someone who knows Brightspace. So, you know, we have been triaging the support for this, and we have included the email contacts for LMS. We will try our best to get to you, but you know, we currently have a big list of support requests right now. Our support for the first month since March 11th to June 11th, just for the first month, it increased from by 460%. The support calls, 460%. And we're doing this with almost the same number of people. So it's very challenging. We have tried engaging other people from other departments to actually help us out. And we were quite lucky. So we were able to get help from Rec and Athletics, for example. And we were training those people to actually support. For me, I'm always looking for help or looking for information, even with my daughter. For example, my daughter started her classes at the University of Saskatchewan 2 days ago. So I attended their online Zoom session for students orientation. And I was surprised about the way they're supporting their students. They actually created groups for the students themselves to help themselves out first. So if they have problems, they go to their group and say, okay, I have a problem with this particular course. Who should I contact? So those are the first support groups. So I think that is something that we might want to explore in the future as well. So I've mentioned that to our CIO on how they have approached the support model. Some of the problems we have is, for example, Zoom. With Zoom, because of the number of calls we have right now, Zoom is being used in our classrooms. Collegiate alone, we are setting up 22 workstations for collegiate with live Zoom connectivity. And that is just for collegiate. We are working on it right now because for the high schools, they, I think they will be teaching in the fall. Our team is working hard to get additional people. We actually hired 2 additional people to start and work for us for 6 months to support as additional support for Zoom and video coverage. Our team is also working with chemistry, for example, in covering some videos and helping out with equipment in terms of recording or pre-recording of scientific experiments. So it is also our team who's doing that. We also set up, starting on June 15th, prior to June 15th, we have 1 studio on campus. We now have 3 studios. Our studio personnel are working 12 hours every day for 2 months now. And we have a lot of requests for additional courses to actually be held in the studio. The good thing about the studio is it's manned by a camera operator and a recording studio person in the back end. So if someone who has a problem with more on technology or equipment, it's the studio can actually help. It's the best. The studio can be, you can have an appointment with the studio through the scheduling department. Again, the details are in the hub. So if you have problems and if you would like to explore the options for the studio, the information is there in the hub. Okay. Licenses. Oh, we have a lot of new people, by the way. SPSS is a common request. We have 100,000 licenses for SPSS. So if your students need access to SPSS, we can actually deploy that. We can assign a license to students. Okay, so our team is also responsible for those licenses. And the last but not the least, I would like to show, to inform you that we are almost done with the proof of concept for Teams. So Teams is another tool that can be used for, collaboration between faculty and students. It can also be used in the business side of things. So Teams is available. That is Microsoft Teams. And I think I'm done with my presentation. Are there any questions?
Great, thank you, Rusty. I think we'll wait until
the end.
Jane, and then I'll open the floor for questions. So thank you very much. So Jane, take it over. I think if you can stop sharing, Rusty or
Yep.
Rachel. Okay. Thank you.
Hello, can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. I'm looking at the time and I'm starting my timer because I do absolutely want to make sure that I leave time for questions. This is something that is scary and new for just about everybody. And so I was asked to speak about the common mistakes or pitfalls and successes in teaching online. Just gonna give the full screen there. I wanted to tell you a story, and this takes us back to my earlier discussion about having a successful teaching career. But I want to tell all of you I have Amelia Curran in here in this session. And Amelia was in my very first class in 1997 as a new student in an Intro to Criminal Justice class. And was it a week ago, I believe, we had a conversation on the telephone because she is now teaching at University of Winnipeg, which I'm thrilled for her to be here, and finished her PhD and is going to be teaching a class. And so we were talking about this reality, this COVID reality of teaching online. And I was walking her through some of the things that I'm going to talk about today. And so she said to me, Jane, I don't know if you realized that when you signed up for teaching me in 1997 that this was a lifelong commitment, but it's pretty cool that it's gone full circle, and now here she is as faculty. So we did talk about some of these things last week. It was helpful for me, and so given very little amount of time, did I start my timer? Let's see. I did. I want to first of all talk about how you conceptualize teaching online. Rusty, I can only see you, so I'm gonna change that. There we go. Not Rusty, not that I don't like looking at you, man, but I want to see everybody else. I want to really encourage you to spend some time thinking about the conceptualization of what you're doing, because developing an online course, having done it for years and years and years, takes a tremendous amount of time, knowledge, and resources. And that those three things are not necessarily factors that we have at hand. And so you're not a computer programmer, you're not a movie producer, you're not a graphic designer, and you're not actually developing an online course. What you're doing, and I think you should put a piece of paper in front of you somewhere, you're teaching remotely. And we are doing that under particularly challenging circumstances, less than ideal, certainly. And Rusty, you talked about the resources, and I will, he didn't pay me to say this, but Rusty, you said it's gone up 400%. And I will assure you that most of that previous usage of Nexus support was me, because I was teaching online and I relied on them all the time. And I encourage you to do the same. They are absolutely incredible. So as I said in my earlier presentation, don't suffer alone. So you're teaching remotely. If you've taught courses before, and many of you have face-to-face courses, then you want to think about, again, reconceptualizing, but you have a lot of material. So you are going to review that, and you are going to move, as you can see, moving you. How do you move you into a digital classroom? What aspects of your course and content can you move online? What elements can you use or reuse with minor modifications? Many of you, if you've taught face-to-face, have used PowerPoint, for example, and you have lecture notes. So do you want to obviously use that, and how are you going to use that? You don't want to be reinventing the wheel. What elements do you need to modify? And then what elements do you need to create or go looking for? And again, I encourage you, if you're doing that, to be using others as a resource. I want to go backwards, and it's going to go forwards. In conceptualizing your course, then it's not as easy as taking 3 hours of lecture that you may have done in your face-to-face class, or that you may have been used to as a student when you were studying 3 hours of content. So in reconceptualizing, then think about a 50-minute class, let's say, a 50-minute class. How much of that time, typically in a face-to-face class, was there what we would call pure lecture, where you, or if you were a student, you were the professor was in a telling mode. They are teaching, they are lecturing. And then, of course, there's all of the interaction that goes on in the classroom. So there's a discussion that happens, that unfolds in the classroom. There's videos that may appear in the classroom. There's group work that may happen in your classroom time. And so I'm encouraging you in reconceptualizing to not get stuck in that box of, I'm going to have 3 hours of lecture per week per course. It's flipped. There's lots of discussion in the online world about flipped classrooms, but a lot of that is going to move outside of your lecture and into your course management system, onto Nexus. So I want you to think about that. I'm going back here. Sorry. Being present. How can you be present? One of the biggest fears I think for all of us, look at me jumping around, is that you're going to lose yourself in moving into this remote teaching format. How, again, as I say, how do you bring you into the classroom? And so one of the pitfalls or the misconceptions is that this idea that, you set it and leave it. It's also a problem for students that they forget about it. They're registered in an online class, and if it's not scheduled and structured, it's very easy to leave it. And so you want to be present, and that means that you're present in a very different way than you would be in a traditional classroom. So I have ideas of things that I've used successfully. I just did a spring class, and that class, of course, in COVID, most of the students were not typical online students, and they told me about their concerns and their fears, their trepidation about taking a course online. And I will tell you that the result did not replicate their fears. They were actually very pleased, and they were quite outspoken about how pleased they were at how present I was. I'm not giving kudos to myself. It's just that I utilized particular strategies. And so these weekly announcement videos, introduce the week, recap last week, that's what you would do in a face-to-face classroom. And you can do that. Record a short little video, responding quickly to student emails. They were just shocked and awed, because we're busy when we're in non-COVID world on campus, in meetings and in classes. And so I'm not saying or suggesting that you need to be available 24/7, but I certainly was very available, and much more available than I was previously. And so that allows them to feel very connected to the instructor, connected, supported, engaged. Talk with students in an online discussion forums, and those online discussion forums, they, believe it or not, actually asked me for more. And it was a 4-week course. I did 4, and they wanted more, because they not only want to connect with their instructor in the remote world, but they want to connect with one another. And so you establish a presence in those forums, that you are engaging in discussions with them. Online office hours, these are ideas that I've learned from other faculty and looking at their outlines. And so whether it's Calendly, that is a tool that they can use to schedule. One faculty I saw, she had a drop-in Zoom scheduled open office hours. So those office hours can happen either according to schedule or drop-in. And this very, very important for the students. I had a weekly Zoom lecture on Thursday afternoons at 4 in my spring class, and it was almost full attendance, and it wasn't for credit, which was surprising and really pleasing, but they wanted to engage. We had discussions, we connected with one another, they talked with one another, we got feedback. I encourage you to use that as a method to connect with them. So little videos to clarify confusion around assignments. You'll see you start to get the emails and you get the same emails over and over. And then it's time, either a group email or a little video. And again, they appreciate that. Grading in a timely fashion. We all strive to do that, and it's difficult, but it was more available to me because of the online, the COVID reality, the ability to grade in a timely fashion. And there's this tool, if you take nothing away from me, take this D2L grader. Can't you do it on your computer, but you can do it on your phone, and you can do it if you have an iPad, and it's a beautiful thing. It downloads all the assignments, so we get rid of paper. It allows you to, as you would track changes in a Word document, or you can use a pen, whatever that's called, in the online world, and you can edit with your tool on your phone or on your iPad. You upload the rubric, so they see the rubric, and it has an audio function that allows you to actually record your feedback and say, hello, Haley, great job in this aspect. I particularly appreciate A, B, C, D, and encourage you. And they absolutely loved that because they could hear our voices and felt very connected. I realize I'm out of time. And so my third recommendation is to use the technologies that are there. You can see I've chosen some. We're using Zoom now, Mentimeter. The students absolutely love Kahoot. If you're familiar with Kahoot. But having said that, if you're comfortable stepping outside of your comfort zone and trying one of these technologies that you have that I had in front of you in terms of Flipgrid or Kahoot or Mentimeter. And so I'm not sure how well this worked. In the chat had asked you to go to menti.com and you use this code. And the question that I had was, what is the biggest challenge you anticipate you may have in teaching online? This is just one example of the kinds of technology that we can use. It's very user-friendly. Students love it, and what you see before you is an example of one of the tools. And so you can poll, you can do this, and it will create that image. And so when I asked you to do that, what jumps out at me in the visual is this issue around connection and engagement. You can see it, keeping people engaged, connection, engagement, participation, technology. I saw bad Wi-Fi, and that is very helpful in instructing us in terms of hearing the voices, acknowledging the voices of students, and then designing our interaction around them. What do they give us? But again, I'll say it again, you don't want to take on too much. Be realistic. Pick one and play with it, or ask a colleague, or ask somebody. Your kids are really good at this if you have young adults at home, or peers. And try it, because it is really helpful in this forum, in a new reality. That's it for me. I want to open it up to questions. Great. In the 9 minutes we have.
Great, thank you very much, Jane. Teaching is a lot of work, and teaching remotely is a lot more work, but you also show how fulfilling and rewarding it can be. So thank you very much. So are there questions for James, Resty, or Tabitha? Jane, could you?
I got to stop screen sharing. I realized that, sorry.
Thank you. So just raise your hand or speak up if you'd like to ask a question. And then I'll try to find you. Anyone questions? Oh, Amelia.
Hi, Jane. I'm just wondering, like, I was thinking of using Zoom, and I would be live on Zoom each week for the classes. Do you think it's better to do like an online discussion right in the Zoom meeting, or do you think it's better to assign something like that to Nexus for students to talk about an issue afterwards? Do you have, like, are you finding people in a Zoom, like live on Zoom, want to have a discussion, or just your thoughts on that?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. I think you're going to want to be flexible, and I didn't say that in doing all of this, because this is new for most of you. And so feel free to play. Don't get locked into anything. What works for you, Amelia, may be different than for myself, but I would think that it's going to be a combination.
Okay.
As it would be in a regular classroom. So there's going to be, for comfort, certainly when you first start teaching a new course, you're going to have some structured lecture, but absolutely I did discussion in the Zoom, and it worked really well. When I first did it, I actually went old school and had a flip chart behind me in my dining room, because I didn't realize that there's actually Blackboard in Zoom. So you can use that, and you can use other tools. The students are actually quite comfortable engaging in this forum, probably more than we are.
Mm-hmm.
So it works well.
Okay, thanks.
I have something on chat here, Jane. Can you elaborate on Mentimeter?
Certainly I can. And this PowerPoint, I think it's safe to say that all of our resources that we use today are PowerPoints we will make available to all of you. And I would also encourage any of you to please don't be shy about reaching out to me. I love this stuff. At the end of my, at the end of my career, it's fun. It's not intimidating. It's really fun. So Mentimeter, if you go to, as it suggests, Mentimeter, and it's very user-friendly, it will say new presentation. And I simply asked 2 questions, and then it says present. And that's what you saw. I'm not even going to try and share my screen at this late stage, but you'll see it in the recording. And so that was the results from those of you that went to menti.com and put in the code. And so we saw that you can do a poll, you can do all kinds of fun and interesting things. Similarly with Kahoot, that one, and these are all free, by the way, very, very important. As you're starting your careers, they're free and they're accessible. And so Kahoot, again, is one that I've used for a few years in my face-to-face classrooms. and the students use their phones and they answer questions. So it's gaming. It's interactive.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So I'm getting stuff on chat here, but it's easier if you just ask the question. So if you have a question, rather than just going through me, it's easier. I think you just raise your hand and I'll find you. So anyone else?
Glenn, could I ask Rusty?
Sure.
I know we were experimenting a bit with Microsoft Teams, and I think there was a technical issue about whether it'd be available. And I'm just wondering if Rusty would know if there's a date by which we might have Microsoft Teams available.
I would say that it will be available most likely next week. The testing is done already, and there is some communications that was already sent about Teams. And the information is on, that's why I said the tech sector site. There is information already about the Teams solution and how to get help on it.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's available.
Anyone else with questions? Rusty, I have a question. Is there was a pilot project regarding proctoring. I don't know where that's gone. If
Okay.
I'm getting as well emails from faculty members and chairs about the possibility of proctoring exams. Yep. Where are we on that?
Okay, the e-proctoring pilot is starting very soon. There is a meeting that was sent by our LMS manager, Ruth, for tomorrow. There's a list of people who signed up for doing the pilot testing.
Yeah.
And the first meeting is tomorrow. The e-proctoring solution is already integrated. So we did the first portion. So it's available on Nexus. We just need to work on the, the first group who will be piloting it.
Okay, so if a faculty member wants to have an exam proctored online, that is a possibility.
That is a possibility. There was a discussion with EPP about it because there's a lot of news, especially the last news that came up out of University of Manitoba. So if you have seen that latest news about e-proctoring solution that they have chosen and the questions from the student union, the student body. So.
And for some, maybe not everyone is aware about the possible issues regarding e-proctoring. Can you talk about that in case someone has concerns?
Yes, the biggest concern about e-proctoring is that the e-proctoring solutions almost all use AI. And that is automated to a point where people are worried about privacy. The biggest issue with e-proctoring solution is a lot of students who take the exams think of it as a type of surveillance. So that's why we have to be very careful about an e-proctoring solution across the board. So that's why this is being discussed with EPP. And everyone is looking at the privacy of the solution itself. The solution that we have chosen is the strictest when it comes to privacy. So we have considered and looked for a solution if we are going to adopt a type of e-proctoring that will be very safe in terms of it only takes the video of flagged events as opposed to the whole hour of an examination. So any activities there, someone moving, you really don't want that. A lot of the other solutions take the whole video session. This one will only, you can choose which ones are flagged events. And, and that's the primary thing, that we want to, that's why we are recommending this particular solution if we want to use e-proctoring.
Just for people who don't know, EPP is the executive people at the university, so the president and the vice presidents and so on.
Yes.
Who will make the decision on this. Jane?
Yeah.
I just want to say something in that regard, and I recognize it's 3:30, but the testing is a significant concern in the online forum when you're teaching remotely. And here's the bottom line. The research has shown that there is no more cheating in an online forum, a remote forum, than there is in a regular classroom. My own bias and my own perspective is going to come into play, but I see myself as an educator. I'm there to assist students in learning and not in surveillance per se. And it's and I'm not saying, Rusty, that it's not a good tool. All of these are good tools, but again, in conceptualizing what you want to do and thinking about what you want to do, there's lots of options. There's open book, there's closed book, there's alternative assessments, and that's a whole area. What I would recommend is, I think I'll have to post it. I'll provide it for all of you. A presentation that was done from another university, just in terms of how we deal with that. And but the bottom line is, cheaters are going to cheat, and those that aren't going to cheat are not going to cheat. And I like to come from a perspective of academic integrity and respect for my students, and thinking the best of them. And just like I do as a mother. But we could spend 3 hours talking about that again. So I know when we start talking about proctoring, et cetera, you probably, all of you, start to have some anxiety around that. So we will provide some resources for you to consider.
Yeah, just to be clear, I know that this isn't Rusty and his team pushing or encouraging the university. It's simply the Rusty's team is saying, if this is what the university wants, this is what the risks are, and so on. And so I want to make sure that that's very clear. So if the decision is made by the university that proctoring, e-proctoring is going to be used, these are the risks and the privacy issues that students as well must be made aware of. Mm-hmm. Hugh.
Sorry, don't mean to monopolize. I just wanted to say a few things before we left. I think if the people in this group have concerns and want the opportunity to chat about stuff as their course goes on, if there's not opportunities within your department, or I know through Tabitha's group, but maybe if it's a concern to you, maybe you could let Rachel know, and we'll just try to keep tabs on who might want to be included if there's some issues that arise. I wanted to just ask, and I'm sorry to take us over time, but Jane, I was really quite surprised. I didn't know what synchronous and asynchronous meant until a couple months ago, and I was really quite surprised when I was in some Zoom meeting, and people from across Western Canada. And one said that the biggest predictor of a student's response to a course was whether it was synchronous or asynchronous. And I know, in fact, that a lot of the business schools have mandated that certainly at the MBA level, the graduate level, they all must be synchronous or have a very significant synchronous component. Is there any, do you have a sense of that? Is it that students really do respond to that live face, sort of setting, or what's your experience with that?
My experience with that is absolutely. So the slow cooker model of putting it on and leaving it, it's okay. But if we were to do another word cloud, as I did with you, asking about your concerns and asking the students what their concerns are, it's the same. It's engagement, it's connection, it's involvement, participation. And so we as instructors and as students are all missing the same thing and wanting the same thing. And so the more that we are able to provide opportunities for them to do that, the more, the greater the success for the student, and the better the feedback.
Okay, thanks.
So any more questions? All right, so thank you very much, Jane, Resty, Tabitha. And this is the end of our program. So I want to thank Rachel especially for organizing everything here and the logistical part of this and managing the Zoom and so on, which is very challenging, and the chat and so on. I thank you, Hugh, for accepting, for the Faculty of Business taking this on this year. Thank you to everyone who presented, was part of a panel, very useful information to provide to new faculty members. And to all of you who are new to the University of Winnipeg, full-time faculty members, or contract academic staff, especially given what's going on now, I think it's very important for us to all try to stay engaged and try to keep connected with one another. There are resources out there. Your chair is a resource, your colleagues, the people at Resty's team, and your deans. And I hope you find this, again, as I said to Jane, this is a lot of work, what we're doing here, and doing it remotely from home, although the fridge is right there for me, and it's very convenient, and my couch is over there 2 feet away. It's sort of nice, but still doing this remotely is a lot more work than it used to be. And I really hope that in spite of all the work that is involved, you do find it rewarding and fulfilling, because this is it's a wonderful job to be teaching and working at a university. And I hope you manage to stay connected and stay above things, because it's very easy these days to feel sort of disconnected and a bit overwhelmed. So I think that's all. Are we good? Does anyone have questions about anything in general? And if not, thank you so much, and see you later.
Thanks all.